We want gods to walk this earth, not circus freaks. Okay, who's next?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, Episode 7, the penultimate episode. In this episode, we see the team go searching for Marie after Annabeth has a terrifying nightmare. Meanwhile, Marie and Cate set out to find Godolkin and take down Cipher, but in doing so, they find themselves bringing back the real monster. And we finally meet Doug. We got a lot to discuss, so let's break down this episode. Full spoilers ahead. We open this episode with Annabeth having a vision about her sister Marie, who finds herself laying in a pool of blood and appears to be dead. As we see, Annabeth calls for her sister and hopes to stop this nightmare from coming true. Annabeth wakes up Jordan and tells them the vision she had, as everyone else is up now and they realize that not only is Marie missing but also Cate. We see Jordan freaking out about the fact that Marie has left them alone yet again. As Jordan has Zoe wake Stan, as Jordan believes they know where Marie and Cate are going. Now, either Stan really loves his beauty rest and said that he'll join them later in finding Marie and just was willing to give him his car, or we'll see Stan pop up in the season finale. I say all that to say that I was surprised to see Stan not joining them in the hunt for Marie, especially with the knowledge that he knows that she knows about Godolkin. Now, speaking to the vision that Annabeth had, not to jump too far ahead, but we don't see her vision come true in this episode, so my question is, will that nightmare come to fruition in the finale, or is it setting up something in The Boys Season 5, or even beyond that, because we don't know how far into the future Annabeth's visions are. Now, we find Marie and Cate are parked in a garage near Cipher's house in hopes to avoid being seen. Now, Cate assumes that the security has tightened up since the last time she's been here, and if they're gonna make it through this, Cate needs her powers. As she tries to get Marie to heal her, despite not being able to do that back when she cracked her skull. Marie's hesitant, and honestly, who can blame her? Kate's past actions with her powers have been a huge issue, but Cate insists she's changed and that she's broken in a way that makes her trustworthy now. Now, Cate promises she's different and she somehow will prove it to Marie when the time is right, but as of right now, Marie refuses to heal her. Now, back with the others, Annabeth and Jordan are having a heart-to-heart in the car. In this moment, we learn a little bit about how long Annabeth has known that she's a soup. As it turns out, she's known about her powers since she was a kid, as it all began when she was having this consistent nightmare until one day that nightmare came true. And later in this episode, we will find out what that nightmare was. Now, with a new set of clothes, we find Marie and Cate have arrived to Cipher's house, but there is no guards and the front door and the vault is left wide open. Inside, Cipher and Godolkin are nowhere to be found, but Polarity is there, as he fills them in on Cipher's twisted plan on eliminating every weak soup. Now, they find Polarity isn't in his full strength after his last run-in with Cipher, but he's discovered that he can resist Cipher's control. Now, Marie and Cate fill Polarity in on what they learned from Stan and that Godolkin might be the key to not only stopping Cipher, but also Homelander. Now, Polarity isn't too thrilled about this plan because he wants to take on Cipher by himself. But he admits that in his current state, he doesn't stand a chance, as he brings up his son Andre, which is a triggering point to another violent seizure. But then Marie steps in. She grabs Polarity's hand and performs another miracle. His tremors are now gone, and he's feeling stronger, ready to take on Cipher. Now, speaking of Cipher, we find him and Godolkin are lurking underground. Cipher is baffled by how Polarity managed to resist him. He's clearly frustrated, and when things don't go his way, well, we see him do something familiar, which is a disturbing pattern, as he takes off his belt and he abuses Godolkin yet again. Now, just as Cipher seems ready to end Godolkin's life, we see his phone buzzes. It's an alert showing Marie is inside his house, and we see that Cipher is happy. It's like Sister Sage predicted that she would return. As Cipher looks at Godolkin and says it's time for a big sacrifice, as he's gearing up for something, and it involves exposing his true self later. Now we cut to Sam and Emma, who are now back at the campus. As Emma resizes herself, Rufus and one of the Pleasures want Sam to continue his duties as we watch another student named Hempel is pushed out of the other person's ass. This felt like a scene from the Human Centipede and also reminded me of the scene from last season of The Boys, as Hempel is now owned by Sam, basically his pet. Now we see Greg's overjoyed to see Emma's alive and he's ready to help. He's a little weary of Sam, but Emma vouches for Sam as Greg goes to use his flight to search for Marie, all while Emma and Sam go their separate ways to find her as well. Now, feeling rejuvenated, Polarity, Cate, and Marie burst into Cipher's office. Their search for him is stalled, and Marie is still refusing to heal Cate. She passionately reminds Cate and Polarity of all the harm Cate has caused, especially in the role of Andre's death. Now, Polarity steps in, stopping Marie from blaming Cate for Andre. He takes full responsibility, but Marie just can't bring herself to let Cate get her powers back. Now, just as they're trying to figure out their next move, Cipher calls his office phone. He offers her to return to her training, and the offer stands that he won't harm anyone else. Now, while on the phone, Marie heard the training room doors close, and they now know his exact location. Now, back with Annabeth and Jordan, they arrive on campus as her visions are getting worse as they go to try to find Marie to prevent his nightmare from coming true. Now, back with Sam and Emma, he admits to not knowing how to handle being jealous because, of course, this is his first quote-unquote girlfriend that he's ever had, as he wants to work on his feelings, but speaking of Greg, he finds them and he has found Marie. Now, Greg offers to fly Emma to where Marie is, and Sam steps in and he wants to take her, and as they're arguing, we see Emma leaves on her own. Now, as I said in the past, I still don't trust Greg, but he seems to be a good guy so far, but if he is a good person, I think they're setting up that he can be someone we can expect to see die in next week's finale. Now, we see the crew is back all together, and Annabeth lays it all out for Marie. If she goes after Godolkin, she could risk the lives of many, including herself. Now, Marie doesn't believe in her sister's visions because if her visions were true, she would have been able to stop herself from getting kidnapped and getting her throat slit. Now, in order to show Marie that her visions are true, she drops a bombshell on her. Remember those childhood nightmares? They weren't just bad dreams, they were foreshadowing to what happened to their parents. She's been living with the guilt of knowing that she could have stopped it, but she chose to blame her big sister instead of herself. That is a huge reveal because if I'm Marie, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually kind of pissed thinking this whole time that she was the monster and she could have done anything to stop what happened to her parents. But in hindsight, her sister knew the whole time. Now, to be fair, I do feel for Annabeth. Of course, she was a child when it happened. She didn't know what her powers were, but man, again, that is a huge reveal, and I would love to know in the comments, whose side would you be on in that situation? Do you feel bad for Marie? Do you feel bad for Annabeth? Let's talk about this in the comments below. But back to the scene, we see Marie is still set with her plans. She believes this is the only way to stop Cipher and Homelander, and she's sticking with her decision to help Godolkin. Now we see Jordan grabs Marie's arm and tells her that they won't allow them to leave to go heal Godolkin. Now, Marie apologizes to Jordan for what she's about to do. As we see, Marie unleashes her powers, and not just on Jordan, but on Emma, Sam, and Greg. Not only that, but she looks at Cate and says that if she heals her, Cate has to use her powers and push them away from Marie to protect them. Now, in a surprising move, Cate refuses to do so, keeping her promise and never using her powers against them again, as Marie decides to let them go, but the damage is already done. As Marie and Polarity head off on their own separate missions, Marie's going to find Godolkin and Polarity will find Cipher. Now, let's go back to that moment because what Marie did to her friends, is this the start of Marie's dark side? Is she becoming more like Homelander than she realizes? I'm a firm believer that the best villains truly believe that they're the heroes of their own story, and Marie thinking her way is the only way to save the world and to take out Homelander. I hope I'm wrong because I am a fan of Marie, but this can be an Anakin Skywalker situation because she seems to be going down a very dangerous path. Meanwhile, in the training room, Polarity is going head-to-head with Cipher. He's throwing weights at Cipher, but Cipher is just basically laughing it off. And that's because nothing can physically harm him. But then Cipher notices Marie isn't with him. As he tries to leave, we see Polarity slams the door shut, and the rest of the gang walks in. Annabeth, Emma, and Cate go off to find Marie, while Polarity, Greg, Sam, and Jordan are ready to keep Cipher from leaving this room. Now, Cipher can't control Polarity, but he can control the others. And this, my friends, turns into the most violent game of Tag You're It, as Cipher is jumping from body to fight against Polarity. Now, this scene was pretty badass, and I wish it lasted a little bit longer, but we do see Polarity eventually stops the madness by knocking Cipher out, just like he did back at his house, leaving Cipher down and completely vulnerable. Meanwhile, Marie finds Godolkin in the basement. Now, Godolkin confirms his identity with a nod and agrees to help stop Cipher, if of course she heals him. which we see she does. As we see him regaining his strength, all his pain gone now as Marie collapses. As Emma, Cate, and Annabeth finally find Marie just as she wakes up. And Godolkin, well, he's now up and about, thanking Marie for relieving his pain. Now back in the training room, we see Cipher wakes up as well. Now he's feeling pain, real human pain, for the first time in what seems like forever. As Polarity is about to kill Cipher, he begs him to stop because, as he says, he's not him. We find out that his real name is Doug, and he used to live in his car with his cat after being fired from Blockbuster. That's right, Blockbuster, the last store which closed back in 2014, so Doug's been gone for quite a while. We also know that Cipher, quote-unquote Cipher, delivered Marie, meaning that Godolkin has been using Doug's body for at least 18 years. Doug explains that there was no Cipher. It was Godolkin the whole time. Now this reveal raises so many questions. Did anyone at Vought know that Doug was secretly Godolkin? It just makes me wonder, like, how did he become a doctor? Did he just fake his way up? Did people know who he really was? And how did he ultimately become the dean of God U? I really do hope that we get a better understanding in the finale of how he went this long passing as Doug, and how no one from Doug's personal life wondered where he went and what happened to him. Or maybe that's why he was chosen, because he had no one besides his cat, so he was basically an easy target. Now, back in the basement, we see Godolkin admits that Sister Sage was right. Marie would come looking for him as thinking that she was playing a hero. And then we see he quotes Cipher's own words to Cate, and Cate knows. Godolkin was Cipher all along as we watched him leave the basement. Now outside, Godolkin breathing fresh air for the first time in a long time, he encounters the Bud Pledge. He asks him what his powers are, which are he can turn his feet into his hands. Not exactly impressive, as Godolkin knows his name, his ranking, and we watch as he dismisses him by killing him. From there, we see Godolkin going into a field filled with students waiting to be judged. We watch as he walks in his field, looking to choose who's going to live and who's going to die. The power, the judgment, the belief that he is the answer to making sure that the Supes are the superior ones walking on this earth. So the first thing I have to say is I am honestly nervous because filling in on Hamish Linklater as Cipher, or in this case Godolkin, with Ethan Slater, who's now in control, makes me a bit nervous. Now I know that Ethan is an accomplished actor on screen and also on stage, but still, the way Hamish played the character of Godolkin/Cipher was excellent. He set the bar so high, and I just don't know if Ethan can pull that off. And if he does, I hope it doesn't feel like an impression of what Hamish did. The little bit that we saw of Ethan in this episode was fine, but again, it was only a small sample. Now, going back to the big moment, the big reveal, we can assume that Godolkin has been using Doug since Marie's birth, or maybe he's been around even longer and he was just using someone else's body until their body couldn't hold up any longer. But to go back to Doug, to have someone mind control for that long is crazy, but the biggest thing is Godolkin has powers. To my knowledge, I wasn't aware of Godolkin being a Supe. I thought he was just a really intelligent human being. So I would assume that he shot himself up with that blue substance that we saw back in the premiere episode, and I guess it worked on him, but he wasn't able to fully take advantage of his powers because we saw that he was burnt in that fire. And again, I would assume that he's been using different bodies to get what he wants this whole time until he came across Doug. Now, back to the Annabeth nightmare. Will that be seen in next week's finale, or will it be seen in The Boys Season 5, or even longer than that? Which, speaking of the finale, how do you stop Godolkin? Could maybe mind control Marie, or if we get a return of Homelander, he can maybe control him. Will they have to work together to stop Godolkin, or can we expect this to spill over into The Boys Season 5? Now, in the context of the show, I will say I'm happy that Doug gets his life back, but I'm sad because, again, I'm assuming this is the last time I'm going to see Hamish in the role, and if it is, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. I thought that he was easily one of the best villains, not just of Gen V, but also in The Boys. I think Homelander, Stormfront, a little bit of Soldier Boy when he was evil, Cipher's up there as one of the best villains of this entire franchise. So overall, I would say this is a pretty solid penultimate episode. Nothing too earth-shattering because in some degree, I think we all kind of knew that Cipher was Godolkin or Godolkin was Cipher in some capacity. Now, with all that being said, I do hope that this was a good setup for what's going to be a great finale with satisfying payoffs for this season, rather than it be like a big setup for the finale of The Boys. Now, what does that look like? Does Marie become bad? Does Cate get her powers back and use them for good? Or will Godolkin take advantage of her new game powers and use them against Marie? Will we see one of the main characters die in next week's finale? Based on the season trailer that we got months ago, I do expect us to see at least one of the main characters from The Boys in Black Noir at some point in the finale. But speaking of The Boys and speaking of the members of the Seven, will we get the return of Homelander? Will he pop up in the finale in next week's episode? Will other characters from The Boys pop up? For example, Annie. Either way, I've said what I had to say about this episode. I want to now hear what you all thought in the comments below. What worked? What didn't work? What did you think about the major reveals? What do you hope to see in the finale? What are your predictions? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. Now, if you all have made it to this point in the breakdown, I really appreciate the support. If you are still here at this point in the video, do me a favor, put the secret word in the comments right now, and that's hashtag who's next. Thank you all for watching or listening to my breakdown of episode 7 of season 2 of Gen V. If you all enjoyed this week's breakdown, do me a favor, hit that like button. And when you do hit the like button, there is a really cool feature on YouTube called the hype button, which allows this video to spread out to new viewers. If you all can also hit the share button and share this video to anyone and everyone you know that loves talking about this show, I would greatly appreciate it. And last but not least, if you all enjoyed yourself, consider sticking around by subscribing to the channel today. Now, if you all are listening to this in podcast form via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I appreciate you all. Do me a favor, leave your thoughts about this episode and your predictions in the comments below. And also, do me a favor, leave this podcast a review. It really helps out. And also, consider following or subscribing to the podcast. Alrighty, y'all. Don't forget, you all are awesome. Stay safe, and I'll see you all next week for the season finale of Gen V Season 2.